She's dead, wrapped in plastic.
Damn good coffee. And hot. Black as midnight on a moonless night.
Do your palms ever itch? One day, my log will have something to say about this.
It is happening again. It is happening again.
Welcome to this episode of the Twin Peaks Log with your hosts Mark and Becky. Hi, Becky.
Hello.
Oh, 15, episode 15. It feels relentless, this pace, doesn't it?
It does.
This one was called The Body Electric. It kind of becomes obvious, I think. It starts with the usual credits, and it opens up with a nice overhead sort of panning shot, one of these drone shots of, the woods of Twin Peaks. Really lovely stuff, this. I mean, this is BBC quality nature stuff, isn't it? And it starts with Nadine walking down the road looking very, very determined. You know, she's got something on her mind, right? She's got a gold shovel, and she's heading towards the gas farm, so it's like Big Ed's there. And then we see Big Ed looking, as he always does, slightly perplexed. And she has a monologue, really nice one. I really like this. Nadine was pretty good here. What do you think?
Yeah, it's nice to finally spend a bit of time with it because we've had those snippets, and I have mentioned a few times as we've been talking that I didn't think the women in the show had as much grounding maybe as the men, but I think as this episode's gone on and as the later episodes have aired, you've really got to see those female characters come out in force. I think they have a lot of secrets. They're moving the plot along, and it's really interesting to see those characters kind of blooming, and we get this wonderful moment here as a great example.
Yeah, it was nice to see her speak at length, because we've had her a lot of her just watching Dr. Amp, right? But then she had that scene with Dr. Amp and the display and all that, but now she's kind of moved on. Basically, she tells Ed, "I've been a selfish bitch." Do you think? I mean, she was acting like she was kind of self-aware of all this all along, but I don't buy that. I don't think Nadine's not that. Is that calculating? But I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think so. It's as though she really has had an awakening.
She's her eyes. But that's almost a pun. Her eyes are open, but one of them is. And Ed's going, "How'd you get here?" And she says, "I walked all the way here." She really felt strong. She had she walked there. That's a journey. That's a spiritual journey. That is, isn't it?
It is.
She says, sorry to him for keeping him from Norma all those years when she knew that he was really in love with her. She says, "Run to Norma, spend the rest of your life with her. True love's giving the other what makes them happy," which is quite profound, really. And she says, "You can thank Dr. Amp. You're free. Go and enjoy it." All this. It's really awesome. Really good scene. I have to tell you, I really like this episode. Really enjoyed it. It was very solid. So anyway, we see Ed drive into the Double R, and Otis Redding's playing. That's a sad old, a golden oldie, pretty much, isn't it? I'm loving you for a long time. And Ed walks into the diner, big smile on his face. He goes to Norma and he says everything's changed. He explains to her, and Norma just says, "Oh, I'm sorry. Walter's here." And it's like, "Yeah, man." Did your heart sink?
It did.
It was like, "Oh, not again. Please. She's got to be with Ed, not with this Wally." He just stands there not to do it. He sits down. Shelley says, "Do you want some coffee?" And like when he's completely deflated, the music just stops dead, doesn't it? It's almost like a scratch needle. It just stops, and he kind of mutters under his breath, and a cyanide tablet. Poor old Ed. Poor old Ed. Makes you heartsick. Now we've already had Norma talking to this guy, and she was not entirely convinced by him, was she? When they sat down before about all these plans he had, and she said, "Let me think about it," but. You could tell her heart wasn't in it, right? But Norma's a very nice person and isn't confrontational at all, almost, right? But when she is, she's awesome. It has to be said, you know. I'd rather be his whore than your wife. That was a great line. I was wondering if Hank would turn up, but he never did he? Not so far, anyway. And she says, and basically she sits down with Walter and says, I've been thinking about what you said, and I'm going to exercise my option. I want you to buy me out. And he says, why? And she says, family reasons. And it's a bit cryptic, that. And he goes, I didn't even know you had a family. He goes, oh, yeah, and I love them very much and all this. That came from nowhere. But I'm wondering if it's Shelley she's talking about, actually.
Yeah, I thought so. And... I was hoping that, she would be referring to somebody else as well.
Who?
Ed.
Oh, right, yeah. Anyway, she puts a flea in Walter's ear, doesn't she, and sends him on his way, right? Ed's sitting there drinking his coffee, but we hear the music start again, don't we? And he's just closing his eyes and breathing. He's like, oh, man. And, we've all been at that very low point in life, haven't we, where it's like everything's gone wrong and you just got to, just sit there and let it wash over you because you can't do anything else. And poor old Ed's there.
Totally. But it's even worse because he's lost, it seems to be that he's lost Norma twice here.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's the final, kind of nail in the coffin. Yeah. That's it. It's over and done with. The hope is gone, and you can literally see that. It's a fantastic scene.
It's an excellent scene. And it made me think back to the scene of him sitting in the gas farm at night, just watching the world go by, just being stuck there. It made me think of all of that. Anyway, Norma's still going on, talking to Walter. Walter's saying, you're having a big mistake. We're gonna, restaurants don't usually do this well and all this. And basically he walks out. Ed's unaware of all this, isn't he? He's sitting there with his eyes shut. And suddenly, hand on his shoulder. One of the great moments of Twin Peaks, right? I have to tell you, this season is really delivering for me.
Yes.
I don't really care what happens in the next 3. I'm happy enough as it is almost. That's how I feel. So then they look into each other's eyes and she kisses him and he says, marry me. And they kiss. Shelley's watching it all with a big grin on her face, right? And she says, of course I will. And the song starts playing again. It's awesome. It's awesome. This is like the first, this is the first break coming up after this, so this has been like 15-20 minutes, but it's just fantastic. Twin Peaks, it was like riveting, couldn't stop watching.
And it's a hell of a long time coming, especially for people who watched the first 2 series when they were actually aired. This love story and the continuation of it, this is a long time coming.
27 years to be exact.
And I do think that their relationship is kind of the heart of the series.
Yeah.
We've mentioned this before, there's no, I don't know, it's very pure, isn't it?
They are the most adult pair, responsible pair in the whole place. Theirs is a mature love story. It always was. From the beginning of the Twin Peaks, they were.
It is now.
Yeah, now it definitely is. But these two are some of the best characters, secondary characters in the whole lot, right? It's just awesome. So we get the first advert break, then it comes back and we get in like a black and white sort of scene. There's electricity running through wires and it's got that weird juddery thing that Lynch does, and it's a dark night and we're seeing road headlights. It's Cage Cooper again. So he's doing his driving at night business, which is always an indicator. We're seeing it from Cage Cooper's perspective, isn't it?
Yes.
And he pulls up, and and there's a man waiting, and we're hearing weird violin strings playing, like almost like Psycho, that kind of grating sort of string music. And they're at the convenience store that's been talked about in Fire Walk With Me. I think it's the first time it gets mentioned, isn't it?
Yes.
They're there. Kind of mind-blowing to actually see this physically exist.
Yes.
And they go up a staircase, and it's on the outside of the building, this staircase, and it doesn't seem to go anywhere, does it? There's not an upper story. And
yeah,
it's basically, it's the convenience store. It's the garage we've seen when the woodsmen appear, that flickers in and out and stuff like that. And as they go up the stairs, they flicker out of existence. Now, the convenience store was talked about in Fire Walk With Me as, they talked about a room above the convenience store, didn't we? And we saw some of the image of some of the people in there in Fire Walk With Me, including a woodsman, which was, I think, the actor Jürgen Prochnow in a false beard, if I remember rightly. A big black beard. I don't know if it was meant to be false, but it looked obviously false to me.
Yeah.
Any comments on that?
It's very theatrical. I think everybody in that scene, the way that they're dressed is very exaggerated.
Yeah.
And it almost seems as though they're mimicking characters a very similar way. I don't know, it was you that said this on mic about Red and the way that he holds himself as if he's not used to that body.
Yeah, Mike said it, and since he said it, I'm kind of seeing it from his point of view. I've got my own feelings about what Red might be, actually.
And all these characters that, maybe beings from another world, doppelgangers, whatever they are, these spirits, the way, like I said, they're very exaggerated with, like, the fake beard. It's as though they are living out personas, much in the same vein in regards to what Bob was saying, about how he wants to taste and feel through people.
Yes.
That, very, as a parasite.
Yes, indeed. Which gets us back to The Hidden, which Carl McLaughlin's talked about in a few interviews when talking about Cooper, in fact.
Yes.
And, that need for sensory input, hedonism,
Yes.
Whatever, because they've been locked away for so long without that, I guess. Now, they go into a room which... I didn't put this together, but I realised afterwards, or I read it. It may have been I read it. It looks just like the picture that Laura hangs up in Fire Walk With Me.
Yes.
In terms of the framing of the door and the wallpaper and stuff, and the lighting even. And there's a chap sitting there. He's just kind of sitting there. And I saw on, I think, Facebook, someone put that picture next to a picture of Jürgen Prochnow in Fire Walk With Me when he's sitting in the room above the convenience store. And there's like a wooden frame next to him. And the one we saw in this episode had the same frame. And they look very similar. So I think that might meant to be the same character. But, I mean, he didn't look like him. But other than he was like a woodsman and he had a big beard. So, there is that possibility, yeah. And Cooper says, I'm looking for Philip Jeffries, and the sitting man flicks a switch and then some lights go up. And we see a shot of like a juddering white face, which I didn't actually see this, but a few people have commented that they see Sarah Palmer's face there, like mixed in with another face. The other face I saw was that weird white face man we saw in the room above the convenience store.
Yeah, I didn't see Laura.
No, Sarah.
Sarah.
Sarah Palmer, some people reckon.
Oh,
I didn't see
really?
it.
No, me neither.
But I did see the white face. The guy with the white face that I think, does he jump around on one scene with the guy where Leland walks out of a place and the guy just comes out of the... No, I'm getting confused between him and the kid, the Tremont kid, actually. There is a guy with a weird white mask with a big pointy nose. And it looked like that to me, for sure. Anyway, another dark woodsman comes down the stairs, a fat woodsman. Comes down and then leads Cage Cooper into the dark, and it's a really nice scene. He's walking through the dark, but occasionally we're getting an overlay of like woods. They're walking through woods, isn't it?
Yes.
Now the woods thing always makes you think about this theory that the woods of Twin Peaks hold the souls of the dead. hence the log lady, hence Josie being in a drawer knob, and stuff like that. It made me think of that, almost like walking through a graveyard, but it's woods, right?
Yeah, and I think
Sorry, go on.
sorry, just to say, linking to the aspects of mythology that we were talking about in the previous episode, that the woods were often seen as a gateway, especially in Norse mythology, like, Mirkwood, for example, between worlds.
Yeah.
So it's that always kind of reminds me of that in terms of Twin Peaks and traveling between these different dimensions, it seems.
Yeah, it seems like Cage Cooper is aware of this doorway to somewhere else that doesn't take him away from this world, but gives him entrance into this middle ground, perhaps, or something.
Yes, like a waiting room, very similar to the lodge.
Yeah. So we see them walking towards this sort of doorway almost, right? And when they go up to another staircase, and then Dark Cooper opens the door, and it's in a yard, which has got like this like single story apartments around it, which someone pointed out was actually again, Firewalk with Me, the bit where Leland Palmer is going for his like sex session, but then sees his own daughter there and manages to get away without being seen. Apparently, that was the same place where they filmed this. I don't know if Lynch, if that's proper connective tissue, or Lynch liked the place, so he thought he'd use it again. Any thoughts?
No, I think it has to be linked. Lynch and Frost in their writing, the way that all the narratives weave together and create this wider world, I think is very much intentional. Yeah.
I'm not sure it is, but maybe we found out by the end. I'm really not sure, because I know Lynch is very intuitive, so sometimes he might be, let's do this, but there'll be no other reason other than it feels right to him. But we'll see, right? We'll see. There is a woman, there is a figure there, but it turns out to be a woman who we've not seen before. Did she ring any bells for you? She was wearing like a nightdress and a robe, right?
No.
And she's doing the backward speaking. She says, I'll unlock the door for you. And I was wondering, is that meant to be this Lois Dunphy, but anyway, we don't know it is.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
And she unlocks the door and walks away, and Dark Cooper goes in, and it's a dark room, and it's got a very, very Lynchian trademark flickering electric light strip. So Cooper's looking around, he looks at a wall, and then the wall seems to pull back, and we see what looks like a large tea kettle. It's like a bell-shaped thing with a spout and kind of steam coming out into a bubble, right? That bell-shaped thing looked a lot like something the fireman was fiddling with in I think episode 8, maybe?
Yeah.
There was a structure like that, wasn't he? He was like playing with something like that. And it turns out this is Philip Jeffries. Any thoughts on this?
What can I say? It's Lynchian.
It's a bit of a teapot. Now, this guy's got the voice that we heard was dubbed over David Bowie in the last episode or whenever it was. So that is Philip Jeffries' voice, isn't it?
Yes.
And Dark Cooper says, "Why did you send Ray to kill me?" And he acts a bit like he's surprised. He says, "What? I call Ray." And Cooper's like, "So you sent him?" And he kind of acts like he didn't send him, doesn't he? Or doesn't know about it. He says, did you call me 5 days ago? He says, "I don't have your number." And then we get a flashback of Bowie, don't we?
Yes.
We're not going to talk about Judy at all. And Cooper says, in 1989, you showed up and said you'd met Judy. And he says, so you are Cooper, which is like, whoa. So, is this guy Cooper? What? What is he? Any thoughts?
To be honest, I didn't at this point. I had no idea. It could go in so many different directions.
So they're suggesting that there might be 2 real Coopers. This one isn't like a doppelganger or it might actually be Cooper split, or this has always been Cooper. I don't know. It seems weird. I don't know. But he has the memory of him saying, but talking about Judy, right? And,
Yes.
And then he says, Philip, why don't you want to talk about Judy? Who's Judy? Did Judy want something from me? And he says, why don't you ask Judy yourself? And he says, why don't I write it down for you? And then numbers float out. And I think the numbers were something like, this is from memory, 480551. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, 485. Yeah, I think so. 48551, I think.
Yeah, it was a 6-digit number. I think it was 480551. So Cooper writes them down, doesn't he? And then he says, Philip Jeffries says, you've already met Judy. And what do you mean I've already met Judy? And the phone starts ringing and he says, who is Judy? But then Cooper picks up the phone and then we see the garage kind of crackle and then he's in a phone booth on the outside of the convenience store. So that conversation gets cut entirely. So there was a lot of talking about Judy. Any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I was trying to wrap my brain about who it could be. I mean, we theorised in previous episodes. I mean, I even said about her being the girls running crying right at the beginning. Yeah.
I'm thinking it's Briggs, personally. I really do. The reason is when he had that, episode after he got abducted and came back, they said Garland, and he says, Garland? Judy Garland? So I think Judy's a nickname for Major Briggs. That's my theory.
Good call, yeah.
And then I was trying to apply some This is how deep I got into this. I started trying to apply numerology to the number. And I was thinking, well, 55 is 2 the same letters, like Briggs, right? Briggs is 6 letters. And the 4th and the 5th one are the same letter. And 55 is the same number. But, that's as far as I got. Probably a bit far.
That would make sense if we're talking about, all of these different... the numbers in terms of locations and coordinates, that Briggs would have that type of information.
And Cooper keeps asking about Briggs, doesn't he? Whenever he has conversations with people, it's always like, did he talk about Major Briggs and all that? You know what I mean? It's all that.
Briggs would be the person that would have potentially have had some connection to Jeffries.
Yep, indeed.
As well, because Jeffries, we only saw him in Fire Walk with Me. He didn't have any connection with any of the other characters, really. Yeah. So that's a really good call.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how things rooting for Argentina was working out. And I had a crazy theory. I started thinking about Wheeler went to South America to sort out some problem, didn't he? Old Billy Zane. And I was like thinking, is he anyway, my brain stopped working then, so I stopped. So he's outside in the phone booth, so his conversation's been cut short. So he comes out and Richard Horne's there. How he got here, I don't know. No idea. Did he track him? Did he follow him? Has he seen all this weird shit happening? I don't know. Anyway, he's got a gun on Cooper, hasn't he? He says, you're FBI. My mum, Audrey Horne, has a picture of him. And he, and you're called Cooper. So, right. So we know for sure. I think this is the first time it's definitely confirmed Audrey Horne's his mum, right? I mean, we kind of knew that, but this is the first time it's been confirmed. Anyway, Cooper kind of just walks up to him, takes the gun off him pretty much, beats him, and says, get in the truck. And I think he says something like, never threaten me again. He says, get in the truck. And then he texts... Dark Cooper, this is Las Vegas ? And sends it, and they drive off together. And then we see the convenience store kind of just flicker out of existence, right?
Yeah.
Very convenient store. So I was wondering, is this near Twin Peaks then? Because Richard Horne turned up. But having said that, Richard Horne's on the run, right? So
yeah.
So he might have followed him from that weird place with all the criminal types.
True, but I mean, I'm sure Cooper would have been aware that he was following him.
Yeah,
but I mean, he still could have been.
Yeah, I mean, I just fully expect Cooper was aware, and he don't care, because he knows he's going to be fine. So then we get some more shots of Twin Peaks in the woods in the daylight, and there's a guy walking his French bulldog. Now that guy is Mark Frost. How about that? And then we see Steve having some sort of breakdown, leaning against the tree, don't we? And he's with Gersten Hayward. And he's saying stuff like, I did it. And Gersten saying she did it. I noticed that, Alicia Witt's Gersten Hayward, she really looks like Donna in this scene.
Yes.
Really a lot. That's amazing how much she looks like a, screen sister. Yeah. And he starts saying things like, she did it. And he's, I think Gersten saying she did it. And he says, no, I did it. Something bad's happened here, right?
Yes.
And he's feeling something terrible about whatever has happened. And she's saying, no, you didn't do anything. And you're stoned, give me the gun. And he's waving a gun around. And he finally puts a clip in it, doesn't he? He's acting suicidal, but something bad's happened. Any thoughts on what it might be?
I thought that he killed Becky.
I suspect that Becky tried to kill him and he shot her before she could kill him. Because he's saying, I did it, and the girl's saying, no, she did it. It was all right, like, she brought it on herself, kind of thing. So, yeah, the implication to me is Becky is dead. That's how I read it, anyway. But we'll see, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
She's trying to talk him out of it, but he puts the clip in. It's a very tense scene, this. I found it extremely tense. What about you?
Yeah. Very Tarantino-esque.
It was kind of gut-wrenching. Then he says he'll end it. So she's trying to talk him out of it. He's looking up at the trees, and they kind of go in and out of focus. So I was wondering if we were going to get swirly.
Yes, me too.
Which would have been super weird, actually. And then he starts talking about God, and maybe he'll be a rhinoceros, or he'll be completely turquoise. This is just some of the things he's saying. There's a very weird discordant percussion going on, like tapping and, sort of sticks together kind of sounds. Yeah. So the sound, I have to say, the sound mix throughout the whole series is amazing. And David Lynch is credited with doing all of it. So
yes,
amazing. I can see why they took a lot of time bringing this to the screen. There's a lot of work gone into this. Then the man with the French bulldog comes across them. He tries to hide the gun. I didn't actually mention right at the beginning of the scene. He's like rubbing his leg like he can't feel it. And it got me thinking about the old, when a limb goes numb, something weird's about to happen. Or a portal is open to the, Bob's going to pop out somewhere or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The
shaky hand.
Yeah, because he was kind of doing that on his leg. So the man stumbles upon them. Steve kind of half-heartedly, because he's off his head, tries to kind of hide it. The girl runs off, doesn't she, and hides behind another tree. And then there's a gunshot. We hear a gunshot. She covers her ears. She's crying. There's ominous music. The trees are like... It pans up to the trees above her. And that kind of ends. And then we see the guy with the dog come back to the brown trailer park and start talking to Cole Rod. Pointing out, they're the ones that live in that trailer, right? So, it's not good. So it's probably Steve's dead, is what we're thinking.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we go back to the Bang Bang Bar, and the sharp dressed man, by ZZ Top is playing. The MC's dancing. Everyone's dancing in this place. He's got this massive thing to turn up the volume. And then James and Freddie come in the bar. Freddie's got his glove on. And Renee and another girl are sitting there with two guys. And James comes up and says, "Good to see you, Renee." And it turns out she's sitting with her husband. And it's like, yeah, this James has always been cool business.
Yes.
Not really. It's like the most, I'm pretty sure almost everyone else in Twin Peaks is cooler than James. Sorry, Mike. I know he'll be listening. But it's like, and this husband gets angry and James is like, "Oh, I'm just saying hello." And he starts giving James a bit of a kicking, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then Freddie gets out his one punch. And he does it to the two guys, right? And they're proper bang. Almost like Italian spaghetti western kind of sound effects, isn't it?
Yes.
And they're looking at the guy and he says, "Oh, his eyes don't look right," and all this. And the guy starts foaming at the mouth. He's like, "Oh, what's happened?" So that's what's we found one use for Freddy's punch, right? So
Yes.
I don't think that'll be the last use we see of it myself. I think it's too important a plot point now. But you never know, do you? Then we go to the Vegas FBI office. And what's his name? Wilson comes in and gets the chief and says, "We got Douglas Jones and his wife, Jane." And did you think they really had him then?
Yes.
I did too. And then Wilson says, "Oh, they weren't any trouble, but the kids weren't too happy." So at that point, I thought, "Oh, it's a different family, right?" I didn't think there was any more than Sonny Jim. The senior guy gets super cross because he's always cross, isn't he? He's always angry. So he goes, "Wilson!" And then we
They have
cut
a
to
very superhero vibe, I must say, these
Say
ones.
what the two-
There's a real superhero kind of vibe in this episode, not only with the glove, but in terms of Spider-Man and what's it called? Peter Parker's
Really?
boss at the newspaper.
Oh, I see. J. Jonah Jameson
Yeah.
because he's
green.
shouty.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a bit. So then we cut to Duncan Todd in his little office, right? Roger, get in here. And he says, "Have we heard from Anthony?" And Roger's, no, we haven't. And then a woman in a business suit just executes them with a silenced gun, right? And we see it Chantel. She gets out her phone and says, "One down, one to go." So this is one of the hits, one of two hits that Dark Cooper got him onto him about, right? But then as she's talking, she hears one of them moaning. She goes, "Oh." So she goes back and finishes them off. So those guys, that's it. No more Duncan, Todd, or Roger. They're just so Cooper's clear. It sounds like he's clear. It feels like he's cleaning house. All right. If he's sending someone else to kill you, because these Duncan, Todd, and Roger were like his minions, kind of, weren't they? And then we get one of the bizarre scenes here. Chad's in his cell, sitting in opposite this guy that's just bleeding from the mouth and looking really rank. He's very odd colour and everything, isn't he? He looks proper rotten. He looks almost like one of the woodsmen. He's like, oh. And then Bobby and Holt bring in James and Freddie. They got arrested for the fight. James is asked how the two guys are. Holt says they're intensive care. And then James notices Nido just sitting there in their pajamas, who's chimping it up a bit. And the bleeding guy's imitating her too. This is amazing. Any comments on that?
Just to say that this episode has everything from the kind of bittersweet romance to the superhero stuff to the really dark horror.
Yeah.
And then this, it just literally it's a melting pot, this episode.
Yeah, I feel like that jail scene is really just Chad's worst nightmare coming true. That's how it feels to me. That's I'm seeing it from Chad's point of view for whatever reason. It is funny. And then we see Hutch talking to Chantel. They're talking about a nation, the whole nation's built on murder, and Chantel's going, "Oh man, I haven't got to torture anyone in a long time." And all this, and he's bought her a pudding for a tea. No, sorry, no. Anyway, then it's night time at Dougie's house, the Red Door. Janie E brings him some chocolate cake, and he's munching away, fiddling with stuff. He's fiddling with like weird salt shakers, isn't he? Did you notice?
Yes.
That made me think, is he going to start thinking about Twin Peaks when he puts them together? That's what I was thinking. Because I don't know if you noticed, but right next to them was another pair of salt and pepper shakers. Like more traditional ones. So it's like, what? Anyway, he's munching his cake and he's fiddling with the remote control, just touching it with his fingers. He's eating his cake and messing about. And then basically he turns the telly on. And we get a Sunset Boulevard comes on. And it's a scene
Great
where,
film.
yeah, Norma Desmond's like saying, "Oh, I can be ready for you any time," and all this business. And then as she goes off, the guy says, "Get Gordon Cole on the phone." And as soon as he says the word Gordon phone, Dougie's expression changes. How exciting!
Very. I
Very
cheered.
exciting. Ooh, I was so happy. So he definitely looks very Cooper-like, does this Dougie, right? And then he starts fiddling with the remote control like he's trying to rewind it or something. The image just freezes. It makes me think we have to include Sunset Boulevard on our watch list, follow up Twin Peaks watch list at some point, don't we? I think.
Definitely.
Just because it's got the word Gordon Cole in. Cooper starts looking around like he's trying to remember stuff, and his eyes are drawn to the electric socket, and he gets on his hands and knees and starts looking at it. Then he gets a fork out and starts fiddling with it. You think, "Oh, you're going to kill yourself." Yeah. Did they give a warning at the beginning of this? I guess it's not a children's show, right? But anyway, he sticks one end of the fork in. There's a massive flash, and we hear Janie scream, and suddenly Jim goes, "Ma, what was that?" Dougie Cooper has electrocuted himself. It would, at the very least, it could be worse, right? We don't know. Then it cuts, and the log lady rings Hawk, and it's very sad. This I was quite moved by all this. She tells Hawk she's dying, and maybe it's just a change, not an end, but there's some fear of letting go. And then she says to Hawk, "Remember what I told you? I can't say more over the phone, but you know what I mean. Watch out for the one under the moon at Blue Pine Mountain." Then she says, "Hawk, my log is turning gold," which I don't quite get. And then she says, "The wind's moaning, I'm dying." And she says, "Good night, Hawk," and he wishes her good night. And when she hangs up, he says, "Goodbye, Margaret." Did you cry?
Yeah, that was a sad scene. That
sad.
really was.
Yeah. Very moving, very eloquent and beautiful piece of filmmaking. And I believe the lady who plays the log lady died a few weeks after this, just a few weeks after this. So appropriate way to be remembered, I think.
Yeah.
She'll always be part of Twin Peaks. She'll always. And then we see Truman sitting in the dark. It was weird, this. Was he sitting in the dark looking at a picture of a trout on his screensaver? Is that what it was? Or am I dreaming?
I hope it was.
Well, it looked like a trout. Anyway, Bobby and Lucy and Andy come in saying that Hawk's told them to meet there, and then he comes in and he tells them that Margaret Lanterman's passed away. And Lucy's like, "The log lady's dead," and she starts crying, and Truman takes his hat off. And then we get a shot of the Twin Peaks woods at night. And we see a cabin in the woods, Margaret's cabin, lit up, but the lights slowly fade out, which is a shame. Right, and then we, this is a real roller coaster, isn't it? This episode.
Yeah.
And then we see Audrey and Charlie at the door. They finally look like they're going somewhere. And he's even got his coat on, and Audrey's kind of saying, "I'm tired of waiting." He's going, "But I've got my coat on." And she starts ranting at him, and she, "Stop, you're such a whiner," and all this. And then he says, "Are you going to put your coat on? You're going to talk me to death right here?" And it keeps going, but they have this back and forth. But basically, it appears that Audrey really doesn't want to go somewhere, and she's trying to put it off. That's how it felt to me. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely goes back to the coma reading, and that she's on the threshold.
Yeah.
And doesn't quite want to come out.
Yeah, this really reinforces the fact this isn't reality. This is something happening in Audrey's head. That's how it feels. It really does feel otherworldly.
Yes.
And in fact, at one point she says, "I've never seen you like this. Who are you, Charlie?" It's just like questioning that even. And he just like takes his coat off and goes and sits down. And then she starts attacking him. All right? And then we go to the Bang Bang Bar. The Vows are playing this loud and slow thing. And there's this little like mousy girl just sitting there. minding her own business. You know, she's got glasses, and these two big bikers start moving towards her and looking at her. And it's very ominous and dark, this, isn't it? And it's like, if you've seen some David Lynch things, you think, oh, this is not going to end well. But in fact, it doesn't end. It kind of, that bit doesn't go as dark as it could. They just kind of move her out of the booth, sit her on the floor, and take the seats themselves. And she kind of sits there, and then she starts to crawl into the crowd, and then screaming her head off, proper screaming as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I looked at who this actress was credited as at the end, and she's credited as a character called Ruby. Now, I was thinking about this. Right at the beginning, the fireman says to Cooper the warning about Richard and Linda, which I think he says 2 birds from the same stone or something like that.
Yes.
So we got Richard is probably Richard Horn. But Linda, the only reference we get to a Linda is a guy talking about his wife who's got a wheelchair that's talking to Carl Rod. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, it does, in the back of the car.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is that's the only Linda we've heard about who obviously needs a wheelchair, and this girl doesn't walk, she crawls. So I was just, is this Linda? Mate, is that a bit of a leap too far? Because I've been wondering about Linda all the way through. Where's this Linda? And I've been wondering about what's to do with Richard. I don't know. But yeah, that is probably a fan theory too far, maybe. But it just occurred to me, why is she just crawling around screaming? We've not seen this character before. It all adds this thing that it's almost like the Bang Bang Bar's its own universe. Yeah,
it's almost the Bang Bang Bar's one of those places, like you were saying, like a waiting room. Kind of purgatory in a way.
It could be, like the room above the convenience store or such like. So then it ends with the band playing over credits that are focusing on that weird courtyard where Dark Cooper first meets Philip Jeffries again, and it ends. So, quite an episode.
Yes.
We get a great resolution of a massively long-running Twin Peaks arc with Norma and Big Ed.
Yes.
And we get a giant teapot. And we get we find out Richard Horn is Audrey's son. I don't think there was any Jerry in this or any of that, right?
No, but I mean, there's so much to kind of contain in one episode. So I think it's spaced it out and paced it very well. Yeah. But I mean, this episode is like we said, jam-packed. We get that lovely, really moving tribute to, the Log Lady's character and really the whole of Twin Peaks, all the actors that have passed. I think all of that really made me think of everybody that's passed before.
Indeed. A beautiful episode. And also some severe mysteries. What did Steve do? What's happened? What the hell's Philip Jeffries now? What's that got to? A teapot. Oh man, I still don't look at that, but never mind.
And I love how even at this point we've had all of the conversations about doppelgangers, spirits, demons, angels, Catholicism, all sorts in terms of reading. Even we had like a sci-fi reading as well, didn't we? Yeah. Like an alien conspiracy reading. That even now, with that reference to Cooper, we don't know what these beings are. There's no definitive answer,
and we're still
and
not
it's
clear.
Still making us question it. Yeah, it's still not clear. They're changing all the time. The kind of boundaries are shifting. So you got to hand it to Lynch and Frost there.
I'm really curious to see what this particular season spawns in terms of spin-offs, and I'm talking about the way the X-Files was a spin-off of Twin Peaks somewhat. And, there's similar shows like Wild Palms. I wonder what this show, if anything, will spin off. Because it is a different kind of TV to what we're used to, isn't it? It really is.
It very much is. And, coming back to the reference there to the the lore, if you will, of Twin Peaks. I mean, even the title reminded me of Walt Whitman's poem.
Remind me.
I Sing the Body Electric. And if you read the lyrics, I mean, the first verse, I sing the body electric, the arm is of those I love and girth, me and I and girth them. Talking about souls, fill them with a charge, charge them full with the charge of the soul. It's all about bodies and electricity.
Oh man, I'm going to have to read that.
In terms of what happens with Cooper in this episode as well, made me think, the electric body, the way we've used electricity in the episode between different dimensions, would something happen because of that electrical surge?
Yeah. It is weird how electricity is so significant, and it has been since probably Fire Walk with Me. It depends. If you include traffic lights and things, it's always been significant.
Yes. And Bob, anytime Bob. Even the shaking of the hands, that could have been something to do with people
like an
reacting.
Electric charge, yeah.
Yeah.
Hell of an episode. Raised a lot of questions. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great episode.
Riveting. That's what it was, I think.
Like I said earlier, almost anything can happen in the next 3 episodes, and I'll be happy because I just feel like I've not been let down whatsoever, and I've not been. Nothing really predictable's happened. It's been completely unpredictable, but it's kind of glorious with it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's wind up with a score, and I can't wait to see what happens next time. I've got to be honest. Okay, then. What would you give this out of 10?
I think I'd have to give this a 9.5.
Yeah, I'll give it a solid 9. It's a solid 9 for me. It was like there was no fat on it, I don't think. It was all really interesting. Even the stuff that made no sense in any of the, the stuff with the girl, for example, right at the end, didn't relate to anything else in the universe at all, did it? Apart from it was in the Bang Bang Bar. But it was still kind of riveting and hard to tear your eyes away from. At every point, and it was just satisfying. I mean, the whole Ed Norma thing was just so satisfying finally, and we just hope that Nadine isn't going to have one of her relapses or whatever, but I don't think so this time. I think that would be a cheat to do it one more time. I think we're done with that. That's how it feels to me anyway. So solid episode. So let's wind up there. So bye from me.
Bye from me.
And until next time on the Twin Peaks Log.
About a shot as me. About a shot.